Just to begin, looking back, what do you think it was about the trumpet that really captured your imagination and made it the instrument that you wanted to make a career from?
I don't know. My mother bought me a trumpet when I was about 11 from a guy across the street, and I fell in love with it immediately. And this song's all I've ever thought about doing, and it's really been my life.
You played guitar originally, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I thump on the guitar. I got some lessons from the Church of Christ son, a preacher's son, and I learned a few songs, and I used to go to the talent contest and play my guitar and sing Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Have you ever pondered how your life and career may have turned out had you just stuck with the guitar?
Oh, yes. I think of that a lot when I back up these guys that I don't think can sing very good, but they're making millions of dollars, and I play on these albums that go platinum, and I could have been a singer, I think.
Tell us about the circumstances that led you to becoming a member of the Marquees.
Well, the drummer, Terry Johnson, and the singer, Ronnie Stutes, came to the house where I was rehearsing with the group that I was going to play with, and they heard me play, and they asked me if I would come with them and be a member of their band, they had a saxophone named, his name was Packy Axton. His mother was Estelle Axton, who owned half of Stax Records. And so I did. I went with them. And we went to Stax and recorded a record. It was put out. It's called Last Night. I don't know if you remember that.
Just
Not, but
very vaguely,
it was
yeah.
a number one. It was a number one record, and we sold 1 million records. So that's what got me started in this business.
That was the
And I've hung with it ever since. I've made records as the Marquees and made records as the Memphis Horns.
that was the first of many number one hits that you've played on over the years. I think over 80, I think is the latest estimation. Is that right?
What now?
Over 80 number one hits that you've played on in your lifetime?
83.
83. That's fantastic. Did you, through the years, develop an ear for a hit while in the studio? Could you predict that a song that you were playing on was a surefire hit?
I don't know. I just love music and I always have, and I love to dance and always have. And the good music I work on usually makes me want to dance. And I think that's one criteria. Music has got to make you want to dance, move your body.
It
So
must.
I always see how it makes my body feel when I hear a record.
It must have been a hectic pace that you worked at during those peak years at Stax and the American studios. Tell us about a typical working day for you in the studios back then.
Well, we always fired the studio up at 11 a.m. And whoever our singer was showed up at that time. And he started getting his song together and showing the musicians the music, and we just swung right into it until we made a record.
Mhm. Were there any differences in the working environments of both of those studios, Stax and the American studios?
No, in fact, the engineer at American was Chip Moment. He was the one who recorded my hit Last Night. He was a fabulous engineer, and he had great ears. So he was our engineer at Stax for a while, and then he went over to McGraw across town and started his own studio, which he named American.
I believe that the facilities weren't too glamorous in the studios in those days. Do you think that might have had something to do with the magic that came out of there, that it was more of a workhouse than a penthouse surrounds, if you know what I mean?
I do. I think you have a point. We were in a funky environment,
Yeah,
and the music we turned out was funky.
exactly.
We wore tennis shoes to work. We didn't wear boots. I say we did. I did because it was a relaxed, comfortable environment.
Now, sadly, early this year we lost Andrew Love, which no doubt would have hit you very hard. How would you sum up Andrew as both a working colleague and friend?
Well, he was the best friend I ever had, and he was a wonderful person, great father, and I'm sure he was a great husband to Pee Wee, his wife. But he was a great friend and a great saxophone player. And when we teamed up, we really sounded great. And we just hung together for all those years. And we made all of the records together.
Was it pretty much an instant rapport when you first met and first started working together?
Yes, it was. We had something that, you have with some people and you never had it with others.
Yeah.
We were instantly friends. And I liked him and he liked me, and we traveled this world together playing our music and making a living.
You were never just a studio-bound player. You maintained a busy schedule on the road as well. Has it always been important to you to maintain a healthy balance between the two?
Never did cross my mind, but I'm sure you're right. Working in the studio is a totally different thing than working on the stage. And I love the studio. I always enjoyed the challenge.
If I could,
it goes along. What goes along with learning new songs with new people.
Yeah. If I could run some names past you, could you give me just a standout memory of how it was working with them? Firstly, Elvis.
Elvis was a nice guy, and he was fun working with. He was such a great singer, and he learned his songs. He knew the songs. We didn't have to stumble around. He was a leader, He knew his songs and knew what he wanted from everybody. So he was fun to work with.
And how about Wilson Pickett?
My wife and I are sitting in our office, and we've been listening to Wilson here. I worked for Wilson. I guess I was about the last guy that worked with him in the studio, and we did a great song. I think Wilson was the best singer we had, and all these singers that could run around here. Wilson was the best, and he had the best scream of anybody.
Aretha
Franklin?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what a singer. She just flat singing off the seat,
Yeah.
And she was fun. She liked to laugh, and we all liked to laugh and enjoy ourselves. And we did. And Aretha was the queen lady. She was the queen.
Yeah. And Sam and Dave.
The Wild Men. They could really do it, and they were great. And being in the studio with them was exciting because they sang exciting. They made the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Over the years in the sessions that you did, are there any artists or any recordings that you were sure were going to be hit, but they just didn't happen?
Probably more than I could remember.
Yeah.
Because you get excited in the studio, especially with you're with a great singer, and you're singing a great song, and you're playing along with him, and you're just having a wonderful time. And then the session's over, and you go home, and they mix it, and do what all they do to it.
You played with Otis Redding at Monterey, which is now looked back on as a legendary performance. Do you have any standout memories of that show?
Monterey?
Yeah.
Well, when you're with Otis Redding, every instant that you're on stage is like standing on dynamite. It'd just go off and send you to the ceiling. And he was that way all the time when we were with him. Every show I ever did with Otis, he set the whole place on fire, and especially my ass. Me and Andrew would play harder and higher and faster and louder than we ever played before, and just have a ball.
Yeah.
And Otis loved us. He loved me and Andrew.
As I speak to you now, we're just a few days away from the anniversary of Otis's tragic death, and you came very close to being on that plane and also being a victim of that crash. How much has that played on your mind over the years?
Well, it's been, I'm a pilot, and I love that airplane he had. That was a BC-18 twin engine. It was a nice airplane. And I knew the pilot would come out to the club where I was working when he came to town and be every night out there with me. He might be in town 2 or 3 days. He'd be out there with me, listening to music and drinking beer. He was a great guy, a young fellow. And Otis left that night, and we never saw him again. He went down the next day. And sometimes I think about that, and, the only guy that lived through that wreck was the trumpet player at Stax at Ben College. And I think about what had that been me.
You moved away from Memphis in the late 70s. Was that a difficult decision for you at the time?
It was just a thing that I've been working over in Nashville, and they needed me over in Nashville more than they needed me here. I wasn't working as much here as I needed to work, so I just picked my butt up and went to Nashville, and I enjoyed myself over there. It's a big, my kinfolks live over there, and
what about
so I was comfortable over there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. What about the decision to leave Stax Records? Was that true that they wanted you to remain exclusive to them, and that was the reason you left?
Yes, it is. They didn't want me to anybody else, but I was making a living playing for everybody else. I was making pretty big money for the time,
Yeah.
And had little kids and a new house and a new car and all. I needed the money, so I had to work. So I went on and worked for everybody else, and I told Jim Stewart and them that I loved him, but I had to go when I did.
Yeah. So in the end,
and it was a good
it turned out to be a good decision in the end.
It was a good decision. Andrew and I signed up together. We were going to do all our stuff together, and we did. And we went through the years like that, just working. And we played on so many hit records that we began to get a reputation that we played on your record, it'd be a hit. And so I guess it was good for us.
If you had one golden rule that you always made sure you stuck to when you're in the studio, what would it be?
Well, gee, that's hard to answer. The main thing you got to do is be in tune and remember what to play.
Tell us about the go on.
I don't guess that's a golden rule. I don't know what my golden rule is. It's a good question.
What about the inspiration behind setting up your own publishing company? What was the main impetus there?
Just making more money. In other words, we always gave the publishing to the songs that we wrote to whoever the artist was, whoever his publishing company was. And one day I said, why don't we do the publishing ourselves? It ain't that big a deal, but we'll make an extra, we'll double our money that we earned when we sold a record. And we did, and it worked.
Yeah. Not too long ago, you received a lifetime achievement award from the Grammys. What
I'm
do,
looking at it.
what does that kind of
I'm looking at it
recognition
right now.
and what does that kind of recognition mean to you?
Everything.
Yeah.
It was a highlight of my life to be a kid from West Memphis, Arkansas, a small cotton town, and worked in nightclubs for $100 a week. And nobody ever said, thank you or kiss my ass for nothing. And then 70 years old, they gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award and a Grammy. You know, that's a little record player on top. It's got the big ear, you know, the big speaker on top.
Yeah, the gramophone speaker, yeah.
I've got one now sitting right here in front of me, and it's lovely. And it was like something a guy like me ought not to even be able to dream about. And here I sit with two of them.
Well, it's
One
thoroughly
from Tennessee and one from Arkansas.
thoroughly deserved, I must say. I was interested to read that you rated the Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer Session as one of your proudest moments. Was that simply because it signalled success for you in a new era of music?
What was that question?
I was interested. I read elsewhere that you rated the Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer Session as one of your proudest moments. But was that
Yeah,
was that pretty much because it meant that you'd found success in a new era of music?
yeah, it was like that. Peter is a very progressive guy, and the structure of the album "So" was he asked me to come to London and work on that record with him, and I did. Sledgehammer was the big single, but we did it in New York. That's right. We recorded that in New York. My wife's hollering at me. We did that in New York City, and then I went to New York to finish up some stuff with him. And then I went to London. Anyway, Peter's a super guy and a super singer and an innovator, you know. So I was proud to be working with him.
Yeah, look, it's one of the great recordings of that decade, I think, and your work on that was fantastic. You moved back to Memphis. You moved back to Memphis a couple of years back. Was there a significant factor in the home calling there?
Well, yeah, and that had to do with work. The music business has gone into a slump. It's just not happening like it used to be. Me and Andrew wrote it. We were working every day and every night, making records with people in New York and Atlanta and Memphis and Nashville and London who were really, really, really hot. And now my phone hadn't rung this year. I have not played on the record section this year.
Wow,
And buddy, that's dead as a doornail.
that's almost unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And the Con Selmer factory has given me a new trumpet. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's silver with gold trimmings, and it plays like I imagine Stradivarius, you know, just absolutely smooth and easy. And so that's my new horn for the rest of my life, and it didn't cost me a dime. They gave it to me.
Oh, wonderful. And just before I let you go, Wayne, there's a new year approaching. Any plans for the new year?
Well, I've got an exhibit there's a museum here in Memphis called the Rock and Soul Museum, and they gave me the whole first floor.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, my life is in that floor. It's a special Memphis Horns exhibit,
Oh, tremendous.
and they've got everything I ever won or bought in that thing. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm going to start going down there and sitting in the daytime and meeting the people that come through.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's a permanent exhibit, is it?
Huh?
That's a permanent exhibit?
It'll be there for a year.
A year. Okay. Tremendous.
It's got mine and Andrew's horns, leather jackets, a Grammy, my Grammy,
Yeah.
and I think there's 25 gold albums.
Oh, well,
What?
that'd be something to see. That really would.
Anyway, it's a lot of gold albums down there,
Yeah.
and it's just my life. And I'm really proud of it, John. I never thought my whole life I'd have a museum exhibit. That's not something I'd have thought about.
Yeah. No, you certainly do have a lot to be proud of. Wayne, thank you so much for your time. It's been, I've got to say, an absolute honour to speak with you, and thank you for your major contribution to some of the most loved music of our lives.
I had a ball.
And we
I had the best time. I had the best time that you could imagine. I have had the best time.
Well, we had the greatest time listening to the music you created as well, and I hope that phone starts ringing again for you soon.
Thank you. Well, we hope so.
Yeah.
I hope someday you get up here to Memphis and I can take you through the exhibit.
I would love to see it. I really would. It'd be fantastic.
You ever get up here, buddy, I'll take you.
I'll be in touch. Thanks, Wayne, and we hope
Well, I hope I get back down. I hope I get back to Australia again so I can see you down there. I love it down there.
You're always a very welcome visitor here.
I've got 3 books that I wrote that are out in paperback. 2 are out in paperback. The third one's coming.
A third one coming. Fantastic. And that's just a continuation of the story?
Yeah, it's the books are called In My Wildest Dreams. Take 1 and take 2.
Fantastic. And we'll look forward to that. Thanks again.
Well, they're on Amazon.
They're on Amazon.com. Fantastic. I'll be sure to mention those on the program too, so people know where to find them. And you've got your websites as well.
Yeah, and I will answer any emails that some wonderful person down in Australia writes me. I will answer.
Oh, you've got plenty of fans down here, so you can be sure they'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thanks again, Wayne.
You be good to yourself, son.
All the best to you. Take care, and we'll stay in touch.
All the best to you.
Okay.
And please do stay in touch with me. Bye now.
Bye, Wayne. Thanks very much.